for just recording just got started. Thank you for joining us for From Graduate Student to Professional, Build a Standout Brand. This workshop is brought to you by the College of Graduate Studies and the Career Center in a partnership. Together we provide workshops for graduate students every semester. We don't have a representative with graduate studies today with us, but I'm Carrie McKnight. I am a career counselor in the SJSU Career Center. I am the main career counselor for graduate students, and I'm also the liaison to the College of Graduate Studies. So what that means is I provide workshops and resources for graduate students as well as one-on-one career counseling. I'm joined today by Winnie, who's a student assistant peer in the Career Center. There's Winnie. And she's going to be helping me today with managing the chat. She's going to be sharing some links in chat. Also helping me make sure I'm not missing any questions and so forth as we go through our workshop this afternoon. One of the important things she's doing right away is she's sharing in chat a Google check-in form. Please fill that form out. We know that you registered on Handshake, but we use that form to follow up with all of you after the workshop to send things like the recording and the slides and so forth. So please fill out that form. And Winnie will share it a few times throughout the workshop to make sure you fill that out. And feel free to put questions or comments in chat, and Winnie will help me manage those and check on those throughout the workshop. So today's topic is professional personal branding. So we're really going to go through today talking about how you can get started with developing a personal professional brand. And then we're going to talk about some resources and tools we have through the Career Center to help you with that process. So it's really about getting organized and getting started with your professional branding. I know sometimes that can sound sort of intimidating. It's really just about how you're going to put yourself out there, on your LinkedIn profile, for example, your resume, or how you present yourself maybe at a recruitment event or a job fair or in your networking. So it's really just how you present yourself professionally. So we're going to talk about, again, how to get organized and how to get started with the process of professional or personal branding. Okay, so what is a professional identity or professional brand? And there's kind of three key elements to that we're going to start out by discussing. So the first is who you are, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. Second is what makes you unique. So how do you stand out? Third is what do you want to be known for in your career or within your career field industry? All of that makes up your brand. So it's really just kind of getting out there, again, who you are, what are your skills, what are your strengths, what makes you unique, what makes you stand out, and what is your professional reputation. So under who you are things like what are your values, what are your career values, what are your interests or your career goals, what is your personality or your character. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to get a better understanding about who you are. And then another big piece of your professional identity or your personal brand is what makes you unique. How do you stand out? How to differentiate yourself in a competitive job market, for example? So what makes you unique? So what are those unique gifts and talents and skills and strengths that you have to offer? What are your key accomplishments? How are you communicating those accomplishments? And what are your career motivations? That's unique about you. Kind of what gets you going, what gets you excited about your career. That's something unique about you. And then what do you want to be known for? So what do you want your professional reputation to be? So if you think ahead, future, several years from now, and you're maybe transitioning to a different career or you're retiring, what do you want that reputation to have been? And then how do you make a contribution or impact within your career field or industry? And what's your professional legacy? So you kind of can think about a future orientation and then where do I want to be several years from now or several decades from now? How am I going to get there? How am I going to build that reputation? Or that professional legacy. All those things together really make up your brand. And again, it's just how you're putting yourself out there in the job market, to employers, to other colleagues within your career field or industry. So we're going to go through and talk about how you can define your brand and talk about how you can get started with your professional brand or personal brand. We do have one activity we hope that you'll participate in to help you get started in developing a branding statement for like your profiles or your introductions at a job fair or professional pitch. And then we'll share with you some resources that the Career Center offers to help you in this process. So why is this important? Why do we need to do this branding, this, getting ourselves out there? How do we stand out, so forth? It's to help yourself, again, stand out in a competitive job market. I think we're all aware right now that this is a very challenging time right now in the job market. It's A lot of uncertainties happening with the economy and the job market. The employers that we talk to or work with are a little bit hesitant right now in hiring, or maybe more cautious and careful in their hiring right now. Some uncertainties around budgets and the economy, for example. So it's very competitive. So it's always been important to make yourself stand out and do this sort of branding process, but particularly now for jobs and internships, you really have to figure out how you are, what's unique about you, the strengths of skills, and how you're going to stand out in a competitive market. It's also an important way to impress recruiters with what's unique and authentic about you in terms of your resumes, your cover letters, your CVs, your online profiles. How do you get your uniqueness and your authentic you out and communicate it to recruiters or hiring managers? It's also a good way to enhance your online credibility and visibility. So through your LinkedIn profiles, Handshake profile, other online profiles you may have, or e-portfolios or websites. So how can you enhance your credibility and be seen and noticed by recruiters or hiring managers or colleagues within your industry or career field? It's also helpful to advance within, if maybe you're already working in your desired career field or industry. So this will help you advance and move up. So getting that branding and what's unique and special and interesting about you out there to help you advance and move forward in your career or your industry. And if some of you maybe have a business, or in the future might have some type of business, maybe consulting or other type of business, this can help you grow the business or increase your customers. So if that's something you're doing now or maybe thinking of doing in the future, branding, of course, is really important. Just like a company or organization has a brand or reputation, this is a process of doing that for yourself. So this is why it's important, and some of the things we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Very first stop in all of this is to really understand who you are. You really have to know who you are, know yourself. Just like a company or organization has to fully know their value, know who they are, to market their products or their services, for example. It's the same thing about you. You really have to have a deep understanding about what you have to offer and really know who you are. So it's things like knowing your interests and your career goals. What are you interested in? What are you hoping to achieve or accomplish within your career? Knowing your personality. Within your personality is your strengths, and also how you operate and collaborate in a team or group setting within a company or organization. So knowing those strengths and personality style and your personality preferences. Knowing your skills. What are your top skills? What do you have to offer an employer or company or organization? And there's different types of skills. So it's knowing, your transferable skills, sometimes known as core competencies, knowing your knowledge base or technical skills and how you want to communicate those skills on a resume or LinkedIn profile or in an interview or on your personal website, professional website. Knowing strengths. What are those strengths? How are you communicating those? How are you getting those out to the marketplace? Sharing those on profiles and maybe when you're networking and talking to colleagues or recruiters. And then knowing your values. So what are those core values? What are those things that are most meaningful to you in your life and your career? And that can also give you some sense of like what types of organizations you want to work for, kind of ties into the reputation and professional legacy. So really knowing your values. And we have a career values assessment that I will be sending to all of you as a follow-up after the workshop with the recording and the slides. So be sure to fill out that form that Winnie's sharing in the chat. Share with you our values assessment to help you get a deeper understanding. What are your career values? How are you communicating those values in your professional, personal branding? And again, it gives you some insights into what types of companies and organizations you want to target or work for eventually. And then what is your purpose? All of this kind of connects to purpose. So what is your purpose within your career field or industry? What are you hoping to achieve or accomplish? How are you hoping to contribute as you move forward and advance into your career now and after you finish your master's degree? So if you're looking at this slide, you're thinking, I kind of know a little bit about myself, but I'm not sure about some of these things. In addition to the values assessment, we have other career assessments through the Career Center. We have a skills assessment, we have personality assessments, we have interest inventories. So if you want to dig a little deeper and learn a bit more about yourself, feel free to connect with me after the workshop, and I can share with you a bit more about what types of resources in terms of career assessments we offer graduate students. There's also some on our website. For example, we have Focus 2, which I'll be telling you a bit more about. You could just access through the Career Center website that has some career assessments as part of that digital tool. So again, first stop, know who you are, what you have to offer, and I'll be sharing some more resources about how you can go about that process. So knowing yourself is really important, but then also knowing, so what are employers seeking, or what are the in-demand skills, core competencies, strengths that employers are seeking. So it's kind of like you understand who you are and what's in demand, and then kind of put those things together in your self-marketing or your personal professional brand. This slide represents what we call transferable skills or core competencies that are important to employers across all career fields or industries. So these are based on surveys through the National Association of Colleges Employers, otherwise known as NACE, where they survey employers annually to find out what's important to you, what are you looking for in college students, recent graduates, undergrad and grad. So this is sampling of some of the things that are important to them. So you'd want to make sure you're developing these core competencies while you're a graduate student, and then figure out how you can include these core competencies in your branding through resumes, CVs, cover letters, profiles, etc. So critical thinking being very important. As a graduate student, you're developing critical thinking skills. Teamwork or collaborative work, important to most employers. So those group projects, team projects, those are opportunities to develop collaboration and teamwork. Communicating your level of professionalism and work ethic. So developing your professionalism while you're a graduate student through interning, volunteering, projects. Communication skills, written and verbal communication, always important to employers. So develop those skills. As a graduate student, you're doing a lot of writing, so developing those writing skills is really important. Tech skills, digital technology, leadership ability. So take on leadership roles in student organizations or professional associations, volunteer for those, or run for officer roles, develop leadership skills, and communicate that you have leadership ability in your professional brand. The ability to manage your career is really important to employers. So that's doing your professional development, attending conferences, speaking at conferences, doing your networking, developing your network. That's really important. And global fluency, working with in a global marketplace is really important to employers. So think about how you can develop these core competencies or transferable skills while you're a graduate student, and then think about how you can kind of include that again in your self-marketing campaign or your branding. In addition to the more sort of broad core competencies or transferable skills, again, the previous slide are skills or competencies that employers are looking for across industries or job functions or career fields. There's also what's known as knowledge-based skills. And these would be skills that are specific to your career or your industry that you're in now or will be entering after you finish your master's degree. So knowing what is important to employers or organizations within your own industry is important too, in addition to the broad core competencies. So here's some resources, and I'll be sending you the slides. You'll have links to these, so you can take a look at them after on your own. But it's good to do some research into your desired career or occupation to learn, like, what are the in-demand skills that employers are seeking it in the industry that or career you're interested in entering. So here's some labor market research websites. So there's ONET, which is a government-produced website that you can learn about in-demand skills, as well as things like what are the trends and what are the salaries and so forth. So ONET's a really good resource. Labor Market Insights is linked right on the Career Center website. So this is, again, another labor market resource where you can learn about trends and what are in-demand knowledge-based skills as well as core competencies for your career field or occupation that you're interested in. There's also what's called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Again, learn more about in-demand skills plus kind of outlook information. What is the growth of your career field or industry or occupation that you're interested in entering, learning more again about what's in demand or what skills or other things like education and training that would be in demand for your occupation or your career or career field. So you can take a look at these when I send the slides. These are all links that you can do some research. And the Labor Market Insights, again, is just linked right on the Career Center website. And then also connecting with professionals. So this is a good way to learn, like, what are the trends, what are the skills or strengths and experience, education, et cetera, that employers are seeking. So talking to maybe alumni from your graduate program is a good way to go about it. So if you go on LinkedIn, on the San Jose State page on LinkedIn, there's an alumni search tool there, and you can connect with alumni from your career field or graduates of your program. and do like an informational interview with them. So find out what are the skills that they're out there. What do I need to make sure I'm learning about, or what kind of training do I need to do, maybe in addition to my master's degree, so I can develop those in-demand skills or strengths. So knowing at the bottom says know your target audience. In other words, what an employer is looking for, and how can you develop those skills and strengths and experience, et cetera, and get that all into your branding or your marketing, your self-marketing when you're job searching or just networking, for example. So this is a good way to learn about those in-demand skills. So where would you, what are some ways that you could showcase this brand? So we're talking about how important it is to understand who you are, what you have to offer, and skills and strengths and goals and all of that. So where would you be sharing this information? So clearly resumes, CVs, cover letters would be a really important place. Any long profiles like LinkedIn, Handshake, or other online profiles. Through your networking, when you're connecting with other professionals, colleagues, maybe even other graduate students, faculty, if you're attending conferences or networking events, just how you're introducing yourself, how you're showcasing your brand through your networking. When you're interviewing, talking about yourself, your accomplishments, talking about your talents, your skills, your experience through interviewing. And then just your overall professional image. Like, again, if you're attending conferences or connecting with colleagues, what is your professional image? What are you putting out there in the marketplace or within your industry? And then if you have your own like website or e-portfolio or blog, that's a good opportunity to share your expertise and your strengths and your knowledge, your skills through websites, portfolios, or blogs. So these are just some ways to think about where can you showcase all the things that we're talking about this afternoon. So lots of opportunities. So it's not just one spot like a profile. It's, it's talking to people, it's going to job fairs, going to networking events, online profiles, etc. Lots of opportunity for you to showcase what's unique about you, who you are, what you have to offer, and in the meantime, developing that professional reputation to build your legacy. So let's go through those three main. So when I start out, I have those three main circles. One was who you are, what's unique about you, and what's your reputation or your contribution. So I have some questions here just to help all of you think this through, so you can sort of designing, how you're going to put yourself out there, and what's your brand that you're really going to start putting.
Hang on, I forgot.
Okay. Someone needs to go back on mute, I guess. Thank you. Okay, so who you are. First question. So what are your values? I mentioned that already a little bit. So that's the intersection of like your personal values, what's most meaningful to you in your life, and how does that intersect with your career? What do you want to, what's meaningful to you? What do you want to contribute in your career? What kind of organization do you want to work for? Aligning your values with a company organization's mission and values. How does that come together? So that's a good place to start. Just understanding what's meaningful to you, what's important to you in terms of your career and the types of organizations you want to connect with and work with, and also the types of colleagues you want to network with as your career. It's good to find kind of alignment with your career, your industry, and your colleagues in your organization. And then getting really clarity on what are your interests. So what are you most interested in doing? What are your career goals? What are you hoping to accomplish in your career? So getting a stronger sense of those interests. If you're in exploring careers and you're in a graduate program, which many students are still exploring, really understanding your interests can be helpful, helping you make some decisions about your career. So again, connect with me if you'd like to learn more about some of our career assessments to help you understand your interests and your values. And then what's most important to you? So why are you interested in your career field or your occupation? What's kind of that motivation? What's getting you excited about it? Why is this important to you? Why did you choose your graduate degree? How does that intersect or align with some of your goals or some of the organizations or companies you might want to work for? Another way to think about who you are is when you're working with others, like what is something that's been rewarding in your team roles or group projects? How is it rewarding to you? How do you communicate and work with others? What's most rewarding to you? Helps you define who you are. And what do you want your professional image to tell kind of the story about you? So you're putting out kind of an image, a brand. What story do you want to be telling? What do you want to begin? Come back to that reputation. What do you want to be known for? So again, these are just some questions to help you get started thinking this through, defining your brand, and we'll be sharing the recording and the slides with you, and you can go back through and start answering some of these questions for yourself. Also, I'll be sharing with you, in addition to the values assessment, a worksheet. We have a personal branding worksheet that I'll share with you as a follow-up email when you can start to answer some of these questions and start defining and building your brand. What makes you unique? So we've already talked about how it's very important now to differentiate yourself. We're kind of in a challenging time. Job market has been affected by many things with the economy locally and nationally. We're still going through layoffs here in Silicon Valley and Bay Area. So you really have to think about what's unique about you. So what are those top skills and strength areas, the knowledge-based skills, technical skills, and general broad core competencies? So just even like writing out a list, what are my top skills and strengths? And the worksheet I'll send you, there's a way to input that information into a fillable PDF that you can save and start working on defining and building your brand. What are your most successful projects or career accomplishments? So this helps you define what's unique about you. So take some time while you're a student every semester or a couple times a semester just to really reflect on what are those projects I'm working on. Maybe you're interning or working. What are those career work-related accomplishments? And start tracking that information. It could go in your resume. It can be, get ready to discuss it in an interview or networking or in a cover letter. So really being able to describe your accomplishments is super important. Part of branding, what makes you unique, and just generally a part of a job or an internship search. So I think it's a good idea to maybe whatever works best for you, if it's a spreadsheet or it's journaling or maybe using the note apps on your phone, just keep track of the things you're really proud of as a student or outside of the university, and then being able to communicate those and all the different ways we talked about how you can showcase your brand. So really take time to think about those accomplishments, academic accomplishments, work-related accomplishments, et cetera, and track them and communicate them while you're defining and building your brand. Motivations are important. That's unique. You're motivated to enter this graduate program you're in now. You're motivated to do well. You're motivated to do an internship or find a full-time job or continue in your current job. So what are those motivations? That's something that's unique about you. Why did you choose your graduate degree or your career field? What motivates you? What gets you excited about the work that you do? So those are something that defines your brand and makes you unique. This last question is kind of interesting. How have your life experiences influenced your perspective, your personal perspective? So we all have, outside of work and our being a student and other activities, we all have other kind of personal experiences that make us unique. Maybe you have personal experiences that motivated you to enter your graduate program or to want to contribute to a particular career or industry. So what are those kind of personal experiences too that give you the motivation and give you your own personal perspective? And that's unique. And there's ways that's part of your story. When you're introducing yourself, you're telling your career story, or in your profiles when you're describing the about me or your summary in a profile. Sometimes personal experiences might be a part of that career story that you might want to share. And that's something, again, that's unique to you. So again, I'll be sharing this with you. You can go through and answer these questions and then, start to think about how this can define and help you organize your own brand. So the last set of questions is that final little bubble that we looked at earlier when you're defining your brand is, what do you want to be remembered for or known for? So that's that professional legacy, the reputation. So now and going forward. So what impact or contribution do you hope to make? So kind of thinking ahead, what do you want to be known for? What kind of contribution do you want to make in your career field? What's that reputation that you want us to starting to build now and going forward? So think about that. And then, that's kind of your expertise, your knowledge, how you interact with others, how you work with others, what kind of leader you are, kind of team member you are. That's your reputation. And what do you want that professional legacy to be? So again, a good exercise would be to think out, 10, 20 years from now, what do you want? What's that expertise you want to be known for? What do you want to accomplish? And what the professional legacy you want to be known for? And then just start building that and working towards that reputation and those goals that you might have. And there's a couple of things down here at the bottom. So keep in mind, who's your target audience? Again, remembering to research your industry, understanding what is in demand for your occupation or your career field. or what employer types of organizations are you targeting. So that's your audience. And your brand is kind of your promise to the marketplace. This is who I am, and this is what I have to offer. This is how I'm going to deliver on my work. This is my reputation. So understanding the marketplace, understanding the target audience, and then defining and building your brand at that target and at that kind of the idea of building that reputation. And I'm going to stop here to see, check with Winnie if there's any questions or anything coming in chat or anything that comments or questions that I might have missed.
Yes, I think there's one. Oh, I just saw it disappeared. Oh, there was one I saw earlier. They might have gotten deleted.
If you could, if you find it, just jump in and let me know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not seeing it anymore.
Okay. If you put in a question, if you don't mind, just maybe reposting in a chat so that Winnie can let me know about that. If you don't mind just reposting it, maybe it just got buried in there somehow. So
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. Yeah, feel free to put questions in chat. I do have a moment. We'll pause a little bit later just to go through some questions as well. If we don't get to your question now, we will definitely check in with all of you in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to move on from sort of the idea of defining your brand, who you are, what's unique about you, what's your reputation or your legacy. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of how to get started with some of this. So the idea is you would answer these questions and I'll send you that worksheet to help you get started. And then it's sort of like, how am I going to start building this and putting all this information together? So one of the things you could do to get started is the first step from knowing who you are, maybe do the career assessments of the research that we were talking about, the labor market research, and kind of understanding who you are and what's out there and what your target organizations and your career goals, and getting an understanding of all that first as the first couple of stages. Next thing you do is actually start putting some of this information together. And of course, your resume and profiles and all of that, you would be continually updated and building those as well. One of the things you could do to get started is to develop a branding statement. And this is kind of similar to a professional pitch or an elevator speech, like maybe you would use if you're introducing yourself at a job fair or a networking event, or maybe it's part of the tell me about yourself in a job interview. It's just kind of that short kind of overarching description of like who you are, what you have to offer. So we're going to work on kind of building, how are we going to start to build and develop a branding statement? And you can use these branding statements in lots of different ways. And you wouldn't just have one, you would have to have multiple versions of this. So we're going to start here with just thinking about how would we write a branding statement? And I have some examples, and then we have like a little activity here today to help you get started with that. So what is a branding statement? So again, we're talking about short, maybe 2-3 sentences, introducing yourself or introducing your knowledge or your expertise. So in a branding statement, usually includes like 3 to 4 keywords. So it'd be skills, strengths, talents, gifts that you have and you want to put out there. Again, that would be relevant to your target audience, e.g., employers, recruiters, colleagues. What are the essential elements that set you apart? So again, that idea of what's unique about you, how you're differentiating yourself. So think about those qualities. It could be personality traits, other types of strengths that set you apart from others. A good way to kind of think about that would be like how others describe you. Like if you're working a group project or team project, how do your team members describe you, or what feedback have you received from faculty or supervisors? So what are those things, those essential qualities that set you apart? And then what are your knowledge and areas of expertise? So those could be technical skills that you're developing out of maybe training programs, courses, your graduate work, training outside of the university, certifications, et cetera, that you might be working on or have completed. So what are those knowledge or areas of expertise that, again, is connected to your target area, your career field, or a particular company or organization? And then what can you offer to deliver to your target audience? So how does all this come together? And what do you offer? How do you contribute? What do you have to provide to a potential employer or to others? And this is the start of your branding story. So this is just going to be a short statement is to help us get started with developing overall branding story or maybe multiple branding statements that could be used in profiles and networking, interviewing, e-portfolios, etc. So we're going to give you a little bit of time to actually start working on developing a branding statement. And then as a follow-up to the workshop, I'll be sending you that worksheet and you'll have the slides to help you just go on developing branding statements you could use in kind of multiple different ways throughout your networking, your job searching, searching for internships, etc. Okay, so remember try to think right now about 3 to 4 keywords, describe your skills, strengths, and talents. What essential qualities set you apart from others? What is your areas of knowledge and expertise? And what do you have to deliver, or what do you have to offer to your target audience? Okay, so if you're there with a maybe piece of paper and a pen or a post-it note or your laptop or phone, or if you want to type or write out, we're going to actually work on this a little bit. Again, the idea of getting you started on writing these branding statements or professional pitches. And the idea of developing your overall branding story. So we're going to do this, what's called a tagline activity. So a tagline or slogan is a short version of a branding statement. So it's kind of like the beginning of writing these kind of introductions or statements we can use on portfolios, profiles, etc. So how to get started with this is, so right now, either write or type your name, your first and last name. So again, it could be post-it note, notepad, notes on your phone, just write out your name. And then, as I mentioned, those kind of 4 keywords that describe your skills, qualities, or strengths. So think about that again. What helps you stand out? What are you good at? What are those gifts and talents that you have, or qualities that you have that that are unique to you, to help us sort of define our brand and get started with these branding statements. So write down 4 keywords. So there's an example though. So this would be your name. So this example is Chris Garcia. Organized, creative, strategic, positive. So this is Chris, the student, feels like they're highly organized, they're very creative, they know they're strategic, and they're known as being very positive, maybe working in teams or groups or at a job or internship. Others always describe Chris as being very positive. So 4 keywords. If three, 4 is fine, 3 or 4. What are those things that you feel are your strengths, your gifts, your talents, your qualities? I'll give you a moment to do that. And feel free to put anything in chat if you feel comfortable. Just put, what's coming to mind to you. You've got good communication skills. You have some really particular technical skills, knowledge-based skills. Or maybe there's more personality characteristics like being positive or being a good leader. So let's take a moment to put those together. And if anybody feels comfortable, please share those in chat. I'm taking a look now. I don't know if I see anything, but
we have a question from Peggy.
Okay, I see, Peggy. How do I prevent being too widespread? Trying to be all things and now focus. Yeah, but I think that kind of goes back to some of that occupation research and understanding what is in demand and what are the skills that are needed. And then maybe even looking at organizations that you're interested in and kind of getting understanding what they're looking for, through their mission, their vision, or their values. I think it's maybe goes back to that, some of the research. Try to get more specific. Yeah. Okay, so I hope you're all writing down. Okay, thank you, Marissa. Compassionate, creative, communicative, positive. Thank you. Perfect. Anybody else? Thank you. So just take a moment, give you all a chance just to have something. It's great if you share in chat. If not, totally fine. Just this again to help you just think some of this through. We've got to really get at how we stand out, what's unique about us, what we have to offer. Very important. Okay, assume everybody's had a chance to get at least 3 to 4 keywords that describe your quality, strengths, skills, or knowledge. Okay, so step 2, looks like maybe we've got, okay, Evan, multifaceted, ever learning, supportive team member. Thank you. Perfect. I love it. Okay, we have adaptable, creative, optimism, communicative, supportive. Rahul, thank you. Great, thank you for sharing. I think it's really helpful too for us to share, see what other students are saying, and then kind of gives us ideas too of what we want to describe as our keywords. All right, so next step then would be to connect the keywords to create a tagline. So we've got our keywords, our talents, our qualities, strengths. Now we want to put them together to connect to a tagline. I remember the tagline is the beginning of these sort of longer statements or descriptions about who you are, what you have to offer, to be used in profiles, cover letters, etc. So here we go. Example 1. So Chris Garcia is a highly organized strategic planner. So Chris pulled together, he's being organized, strategic, and he brought in that he's a good planner. And again, this could be an intro to building into more of, a longer statement or professional pitch. Second example for Chris is Chris Garcia is a creative, positive team member. So it talks about how he brings in the positivity, brings in his creativity, and then how he works with others. So just very short. So we just want to pull together keywords and then put it into just more of a tagline as an idea of crafting then or lengthier type of statement. So I'll give you a moment to think about that. So how you can put the keywords into like a short tagline. Anybody feels comfortable sharing your tagline? We'd love to see that too. We'll just pause here and let everybody think about this. And it just, the idea of this is I want you all to walk out. We're going to zoom out, a log out, I guess I'd say log out today. Just having something to start with. Just something to start with. Or maybe you already have some taglines and professional pitches already going, and maybe you're just going to refine it today. Feel free to put your tagline. And somebody who's already shared their keywords, maybe you can share your tagline or others. And whatever works for you, this could be written out, typed out, however works best for you. And you can also share these with me afterwards if you want to. You can always send me an email if you want feedback. Just if you'd rather do that, that's great too. Just send me a quick email and say, hey, Carrie, here's my tagline. What do you think about this? Or, I'm developing my brand and, these are some initial thoughts that I have. So feel free to reach out to me after if you feel more comfortable. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, I guess, but any questions right now about taglines, getting started with branding statements, professional pitches, slogans? Okay. Okay, Maggie is a collaborative, solution-oriented problem solver. Love it. Thank you, Maggie. That's perfect. That is great. Thank you. Anybody else with a question or a tagline to share? And of course, we're all different. Some of us might need more time to think about this, and that's great. Just maybe jot down some notes for yourself, then come back to this later. And then feel free to reach out for feedback. Charlene is a flexible partner and innovative, dedicated to building technology with humans at the center. Thank you, Charlene. That's terrific. I love that. That's great. Perfect. Okay. Anything else? Questions or taglines? Or feel free to, connect later for feedback if you're more comfortable with that. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Terrific. Okay. And remember, there's lots of different ways to use these. We're just starting small steps, and then we're going to expand into, pitches, introductions, on profiles, in person, so forth. So I'm going to go to the next slide, but, feel free to keep thinking about this or sharing in chat if you would like to put your keywords or your tagline in the chat. We would love to see those. Okay, I just have some examples here of some branding statements from students, just to sort of where we're headed. And these are pretty short. These could be part of maybe a profile, about section on a profile, or they could be part of, introductions they're using, like in networking events, for example. So I'm passionate about supporting students with their academic success by helping them overcome academic or personal challenges. I bring empathy and understanding, again, some keywords: empathy, understanding, educating patients about their nutritional and dietary options to lead a healthy lifestyle. I'm an innovative thinker. So we've already solved things about innovation on our chat. Enjoys developing digital marketing to help find new customers. I enjoy working on software projects where I can solve complex technical problems, developing creative solutions. So again, kind of taking what we had, a little bit of the tagline and the keywords, and making it more into a short statement that could be part of profiles, introduction or e-portfolio, various ways you can use these. But that's the goal. And as I mentioned, I'll be sending you a worksheet that you can go through sort of the process that we just went through, and then start developing these shorter statements that could be parts of introductions, parts of interviews, and cover letters. It's good to have multiple versions. Then you kind of think, oh, I'm going to this networking event and I'm going to share this kind of statement that I've worked on, or I'm updated a cover letter. I'm going to pull some of my tagline and statements into my cover letter. So lots of different ways that you can use these statements. But that's the goal, is for you to continue working on these and building these. And we'll be sending you some follow-up resources to help you with that process. And feel free to, if some of you have statements, if you want to put those in chat, or just more taglines, we would love to see that. And where to use these statements, I think I've already covered this, but essentially employer connection events like recruitment events, job fairs could be part of an elevator speech or a professional pitch at a recruitment event. And to tell me about yourself in an interview, you really want to have like a short introduction, and you can bring in some of those keywords in the tell me about yourself or different parts of an interview. In your profiles, like the about section on LinkedIn, or summary about me and Handshake, or other profiles you might be using for your professional branding. And then if you have a portfolio, your own website, of course, branding statements could be a good like introduction to your portfolio or your website, kind of the about me again, but more of a in a website or portfolio. So lots of different ways to use these, and of course can be blended into things like I said, cover letters or other communications that you're putting out there, or even as I've been mentioning, even networking. When you're connecting with colleagues or other professionals, to have a way of introducing yourself, to share those qualities and knowledge and skills and strengths and things that you have to offer. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for all of you, just to get started with branding statements, pitches to use in multiple different ways. And feel free to reach out if you would like to share those, or drop anything in the chat this afternoon if you'd like to share that with any of the students here today. So get some feedback as well. So one of the most important things too is, I hope we're all using LinkedIn. It's kind of these days, it goes pretty much hand in hand with a resume. It's almost just as important to have a updated, targeted LinkedIn profile, and also have a profile on Handshake. If you're using Handshake for applying for jobs or internships, the employers can see your profile on Handshake. So making sure that you have those profiles up to date. You're using them for networking, connecting with colleagues or alumni, or using Handshake or for your job or internship search, or using LinkedIn for networking. As I mentioned, like connecting with alumni for things like informational interviewing to learn more about industry trends or in-demand skills is really important. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to develop the about section, not the whole profile. We'll be sharing with you a link to our LinkedIn profile that has steps on how to improve your profile, plus how to do networking, reaching out to recruiters, alumni on LinkedIn. But today we're going to talk just about the about section, since that's very similar to the branding statements we just saw. And so, I see Peggy writes and teaches how to write intercultural stories of hope. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Peggy. It kind of ties in with your background we were talking about. Thank you. Okay, so the about me, I look at the review students' profiles. And that's an appointment you can make through the Career Center, have your profile reviewed. And I often notice that students skip the about section. And it's important. It's where you can tell your career story and get in those branding statements, showcasing what's unique about you, what those skills and talents and interests and goals, all of that in your about section. So highly recommend, if you haven't done so already, is develop the about section on Handshake and LinkedIn or other profiles that you might be using, and a good opportunity to tell your career story. So 3 things you want to cover in the about. And we're talking about just maybe 2-3 paragraphs at most. Nothing super lengthy. 3 things you want to talk about: your past, So a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are, your graduate program, or where you are in your career field. What sparked your interests? So that kind of goes back to those values and things you're passionate about and excited about, and why you entered your industry, or what are those goals? Maybe a little about past work experience, how you got to where you are, and then present. Okay, so what are you doing now? What are you studying? What is about your program? Why'd you choose it? What are some of those relevant transferable skills, or technical skills you're developing? Maybe you're doing some research right now in your graduate program. So, or maybe you've got a notable project that you're working on. So, what are you doing now? Working, interning, what you're doing in your master's program or PhD program. So, present, the background, past, present, and then future. So goes back to like getting clarity around your goals, your interests, um, your motivations, and then thinking about what are your goals, and then why are you currently using LinkedIn? So are you like searching for a job or internship, or you just want to connect with your peers, or looking for part-time opportunities, or exploring volunteer opportunities? So in other words, this would have to be updated from time to time to show what showcase what you're doing now and what your goals might be as they change or shift. But those are kind of the three things that you really want to cover the about. And you can blend in a little bit of the branding. So when you're describing goals or passions, or what you're doing now, you could bring in some of those keywords or some of the elements of your tagline or your branding statement into your about me or about section on your profiles, in particular LinkedIn. So I have an example here from a student who shared. This is one paragraph. You probably want to have at least two paragraphs, possibly, but this is one paragraph about me summary from a LinkedIn profile from a student. So I'm a graduate student in sociology with a drive to promote increased higher education among underrepresented students. A little bit about like their goals, what they're interested in, those kinds of things we were talking about earlier. A little about their background. I have over 2 years of community activism experience. So they're sharing some of their background that they have experience in. Part of my efforts have included supporting high school students with their academics, resulting in an increase of graduation rates. So they're talking about their accomplishments. Remember the importance of tracking and sharing accomplishments. And then their goals. My goal is to continue mentoring students in order to help bridge the gap of minority students in higher education. So kind of a blend of all the things, a little bit about past, present, future goals, bring in a little bit of some of their strengths and accomplishments and experiences. So this is just a short example. I think usually to include all the elements that we were just discussing, you probably 2 to 3 paragraphs would make more sense. And if you wanted to the background, the past, the present, and then the future, which what are those goals and aspirations and things you're hoping to build on as a graduate student and beyond. So just want to share this example with you. If again, any sharing in chat, we welcome. If you have a little bit of sampling of your about from your profile, or maybe an introduction or professional pitch that you've used. I mean, this could be used even as an introduction, maybe shortened a little bit as well. Like maybe if you're networking or at a job fair, an event, you could use portions of something like this, as well as like when you're introducing yourself to a recruiter or hiring manager. Okay, I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions or comments before we get into talking a little bit more about some of the Career Center resources and things that we have to offer to help you get going with this. And again, we'll be sending a follow-up email to all of you with some resources, and as well as the slides. So any questions or something is there anything, Winnie, did you see anything else that maybe we missed from before earlier? I don't know if I see any other. I know there was a question earlier. Did you? Okay, I just see questions about the recording and so forth. Okay. All right. We're feeling okay. Feel free to put anything in chat that you would like to. Oh, I see a hand up. Devin?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for putting this on. I was curious what your thoughts are on like what person we should use, like first person, third person, when talking about ourselves.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's a great question. So for the about and those things, it can be like I am, like I am passionate about, like those previous couple slides back, or the one with the sociology student. So like those are good for like the about section summaries. But if it's like in a resume, then that's more like it's more action oriented, no I or my, just short phrases like resume writing style. So kind of varies. Cover letters, you would say I am, or I have experience in, or I'm currently enrolled in sociology graduate program in San Jose State. So it's kind of different. Resumes, there's usually the short phrases starting with an action verb. And any other lengthier writing like profiles, cover letters, it's full, regular full sentences.
Thank you.
So yeah, and then things like if you have a portfolio, like e-portfolio, and you have like a little introduction, that could be again kind of like the about section. But it's really when it comes to resumes, when it's a short, and that the history of that is because you want your resume to be short and concise, 1 to 2 pages. And so it just over the years, it just became like got rid of the full sentences, just became short, action, result oriented phrases and descriptions. Anybody else with questions about anything we talked about so far? Again, this purpose today is really just to help you get organized, get started with this process. And we'll be sharing resources with you to help you keep going with understanding who you are, your strengths, your skills, and what, targeting what's your audience, it's employers, it's colleagues, how you would be using your brand. Okay, feel free to raise hands or put anything else in chat. I'm just going to go through now, kind of talking a bit more about the Career Center, what resources we have to offer all of you to help you in this process. Okay, so we have through the Career Center a series of what we call digital career tools, and these are all linked on the Career Center website. They're also available in the one.sjsu campus portal. And also the QR code there on the slide takes you to where you can find these on the Career Center's website. So just want to make sure you're all aware of these to help support you in your professional and personal branding and job and internship searching, etc. So first is Handshake. I already mentioned I want to make sure you update your profile on Handshake. All students are automatically in Handshake, so it's a matter of just going in there, updating your profile, and that's where you can search for jobs, internships, find out about events, register for all of our workshops or other events, as well as search through all employers who signed up with us. Filter through those. You can reach out to recruiters. We have VMOC for resume review. You can upload your resume through the Career Center site in VMOC and get resume feedback. You can also make appointments for resume review. We do resume workshops, so we have a lot of support. We have a resume guide. We have a lot of support for resume. Early on, we talked about knowing who you are, your interests, your skills, your personality. We have Focus 2 that's on the Career Center website. We have career assessments in there, plus a way to research career options. That's available. Plus, we have I will send you the values assessment. We have other assessments. If you reach out to me individually, I can share those with you. But Focus 2 is on our website. We have Forage for skill building, work simulations with employers to develop skills. Big interview for interview practice, so you can practice. So tell me about yourself, or other interview questions, how to showcase your brand, your expertise on Big Interview. I hope you all know that you have access to LinkedIn Learning for free while you're a student, and there are certifications, training you can take. There are some personal branding courses on LinkedIn Learning, so you want to check those out to kind of expand on what we're talking about today. I mentioned the importance of connecting with alumni and other professionals to learn about industry trends and in-demand skills and experiences, et cetera. So we have SJSU Squared, where you can connect with alumni for mentoring and informational interviewing. And then I touched on labor market insights earlier on. That's where you can do the labor market, occupation research. That's available through the Career Center website. So again, getting an understanding of what are the career field industry trends, in-demand skills, salaries, information like that. So it's a good place to do some research. And I see some things coming in here. Okay. I have 2 Handshakes accounts. Oh. I think, yeah. So Charlene, is there a good way to keep these access points from fighting each other? If you could, I would suggest if you could reach out to the Career Center about that. We have at the final slide, I have our email address to find out the best way to navigate that. and omitting graduation dates on a resume. You don't have to put graduation dates on a resume. I mean, if you're currently enrolled in a graduate program, you could put your anticipated completion date. That's a good idea, but you don't have to put like other degree. It's not required. The only time it comes up filling out a form where you have to fill out all the fields, that might come up, but you can't omit that. But yeah, Charlene, please reach out to the Career Center directly and we can help you with that question. Okay, so these are digital tools to help support you with your personal branding, job search, etc. So those are all available through the Career Center website. You do need to be logged in, your student sign on to access these digital tools. We also offer professional branding resources. So we have the Career Closet. You can walk into the Career Center. We've moved to Clark Hall on the first floor and pick out professional attire for job fairs, networking event, job interviews. We have fitting rooms, everything set up. So you can see at the bottom our walk-ins for that available. We also do professional headshots in the Career Center. So to update your LinkedIn profile, your Handshake profile, other profiles or portfolios that you might be updating. So you can come to the Career Center for the Career Closet and the professional headshot. So highly recommend you take advantage of those resources, have an updated headshot, professional attire for networking events, job fairs, other types of professional events you might be attending. We also have drop-ins 2 days a week, the Career Center. So if you want to have a quick resume review or a quick review of your LinkedIn profile, for example, you could come to the Career Center Tuesdays and Wednesdays. No appointment necessary. It's just short, 10, 15 minutes with a career counselor. So if you need more time, you can schedule an appointment with me for resume review, LinkedIn, or just talk about your professional branding in general. So those would be longer. The drop-ins are 10, 15 minutes, quick reviews of resumes and things like that. But that's available to you. So if you're working on maybe after today's discussion and you're going to update your profiles or do some quick tweaks to your resume, you can come by the Career Center for the drop-in times. So what's next? I will be sharing with you, again, fill out the form that Winnie has been putting in chat to make sure I've got all your information. So I'm sharing some things with you, the recording, the slides. To-dos would be to work on the personal brand worksheet, which I will share with you through email. It's a downloadable, fillable PDF. Continue writing your branding statements. So continue from the tagline exercise to develop some branding statements you can use in different ways. I'll also share with you our career values assessment. Again, check your email for that. That is going to help you learn more about what's meaningful to you in your career and help you kind of think about what kind of organizations you want to work for, what ways do you want to contribute in your career field. So take a look in your email for that. And then all of our career guides. I mentioned digital tools. We also have career guides. We have a job search guide, a resume cover letter guide. I mentioned earlier the LinkedIn guide has a lot of really great tips about your profile, plus how to use LinkedIn for networking and job searching. We also have an interviewing guide. So I believe Winnie's put the link to those guides in the chat. So you can take a look at those. So those are some what's next steps to do. So I'll follow up with all of you. And then feel free to reach out with any other comments, questions as well. Yeah, we'll be sending the slides as well. Okay. And then we've got about a minute here. This is information about where we're located. This is the email, Charlene, I mentioned. If you could follow up about your Handshake questions, careerhelp@sjsu.edu. We have a staff member who's our Handshake admin who can work with you about how to deal with the different accounts. And then visit our website. A lot of information on there, our events calendar, all the digital tools, the guides, resources available on the Career Center website as well. So we are at time. Feel free to, I can stay on a moment if anyone has any other